Hey, you guys. I wanted to talk a little bit about storyboarding. I believe that's what, or novel plotting. Some people call it storyboarding, but I've come to learn that it is also called novel plotting. And we have a cameo with us today, Miss Melee. Oh, no, she didn't. Okay. So I wanted to start kind of sharing a little bit about what I'm trying to do with this whole writing coaching side business of mine. As you all know, though some of you may know, I freelance edit. I'm the writing center coordinator at my job, library director at my job. So it's like I have the experience, I have the training, but within the past few years, I've kind of branched off and, well, not branched off from my job, but I've branched off on the side to kind of do some freelance editing. And just recently I decided, I'm like, hey, like I'm already coaching students at work. So, and I'm writing myself. So I feel like, I can add that to my business, my service, or whatever you want to call it. But anyways, let me jump right in. So novel plotting. A lot of times when I work with students, the number one thing that I see that students struggle with, or any writer struggles with, is getting started sometimes. Or if they get started, they get stuck in the middle. So I try to help them develop their ideas and kind of put their thoughts together. I always try to push for students to do brainstorming. So in shifting gears into the whole novel writing, where it's more fiction based, it's the same concept. Okay, so I have 6 main things that I would say that I want to share in this video. 6 main things that I would say is very useful when starting your novel or plotting out your novel. And I'm going to just breeze through these. But of course, if you're interested in the writing coach service, just let me know. I offer free consultations in the beginning to kind of see where we could match up as client and coach, and then we would just kind of go from there. So I'm gonna just kind of breeze through these. So novel plotting. The first one I would say, it's really important to figure out where you want to go. Where is this story going? What do you want to happen in the end? Now, I'm not saying that's a mandatory thing. You don't have to say, oh, I want this character to die in the end. That's not what I'm saying. It's just an option, because some people will start writing and they don't know where it's going to go. That's fine too. But, just if you're plotting out, if you're trying to diagram everything, kind of write out, what do you want to happen, or what do you see happening in your story? The second thing, how many characters are you needing to make this story unfold? Again, you don't have to have a set number in the beginning, because, for example, if you're starting a story and you realize, oh man, I need a side character, I need a filler character to kind of make this scene unfold, you can add your characters later. But again, when you're trying to plot it out, when you're trying to diagram, it's a good idea to kind of have a thought in your mind, like, how many characters will it really take? How many characters do I visualize for this actual story? For example, the example that I will give in this video, and this might be kind of lengthy, but you can kind of fast forward through it to see what, you'd be interested in learning about. For this example story that I'm going to share, I want to talk about three boys or three teenagers at a high school. One teenager is getting bullied. So my three characters for this story were Billy, the bully, Chris is soft-spoken little brother, and then Devin is the older brother, right? So if I wanted to tell this story about a bully, that's my original thought. Okay, I want three main characters for this little short story. So yeah, so that's number 2. How many characters will you need for your story or your novel? Number 3 would be one thing that I learned when I wrote my first when I wrote the fiction novel. I did get some feedback from some friends and they were like, your characters are not believable. So that was a lesson that I learned. Okay, make sure some of your characters have flaws. They can't be all beautiful. They can't be all supermodels. And that's how that's the first mistake I made in Love's Playbook. I put it out there anyway, because when you guys see the rest of the books that are coming up the pipeline, you're going to see how much I've grown. So yeah, make sure your characters are believable. And then you want to ask yourself a question here at stage 3. How does each character add to the storyline? Again, like will one of your characters be a filler character where you see them one time? They were someone who ran up and stole someone's purse or something like that. That would be, in my opinion, a filler character. It's not a main character, but it was somebody that needed to pop up in one of the scenes to make the story unfold. Number 4, how many scenes are needed to be written out? Again, you don't have to in the very beginning of your planning say, I want 11 scenes and this is how my story is going to flow out, because you might get to the middle of your story and you realize, okay, I can't jump to this character killing this character. I know this is like the second violent thing that I mentioned, but whatever. Violent sells. So I can't jump to this character killing this character without this happening. So that's what I mean by how many scenes are needed to make your story unfold. It's okay to add later, but in the beginning, you might say, like, for example, in the example story I'll share, I will probably have like a few scenes. Okay, we set up where the bully steals the bike. The big brother comes out, and then they all walk home happily ever after because the big brother beats up the bully. So that will be an example for like a short story. So you don't actually have to have a number, but it's good to kind of plan it out to say, okay, if I have 2 characters falling in love, how are they going to meet? Where's their first date going to be? How is it going to end? And then maybe go back and say, okay, let me make all of these things kind of sync together. I can't just say, oh, we met Tuesday, we're married Friday. What happened in between that time? You see what I'm saying? So number 5, another thing that you can do in regards to your characters is ask the question, which characters appear in each scene? Now, that's not something that you have to do right then and there when you start writing or thinking about your novel, but that is something that you would need to do during the planning phase or during your writing phase. Which characters appear in each scene? Again, if it's a story about people falling in love, I may introduce the girl's mom in the beginning of the story to kind of say maybe the mother pushed her to be a die-hard, hopeless romantic, right? So I know later in the story, I won't need the mom at the date where she meets the guy of her dreams. You see what I'm saying? So in terms of storyboarding or in terms of novel plotting, you need to figure out which characters will be in each scene. Again, you don't have to draw it out. It's just an option. Or as you begin writing, before you go into that, you might want to, in your mind, kind of visualize, okay, I introduced 3 characters 3 pages ago. Do I need those same characters in this particular scene? And of course, as the creative, as the writer, you don't have to draw it out, write it out, type it out. You could do it in your mind. Everyone has a different writing style. Everyone has a different planning style. And number 6, for each scene, what descriptive aspects must be included? This is my most favorite. Now this has been six that I have shared in this video, but of course, depending on your needs as the writer, or if you decided to link up with me as for to give you writing coach services, of course we can map that out differently, but this is just something that I wanted to put out for anyone who is searching the internet just for some tips. So ending with number 6, for each scene, what descriptive aspects must be included? So again, with my example, this brings me to my example story. So for anyone who wants to keep watching, I am now going to give you a sample story. I don't have it written out. I'm just going to explain it to kind of put the descriptive aspects or some of the aspects that I've already talked about in the video. Okay, so the descriptive, okay? The descriptive is important because you want your readers to see, to be able to visualize what's actually happening, okay? So for my fake story, remember I said we have Billy, Chris, and Devin, okay? Billy is the bully. I mean, it just seems like Billy is just a bully name. No offense to any bullies that might be watching. Chris is the soft-spoken younger brother, and then we have Devin, the older brother that's going to protect him during this bully scene. So when I say description, you might want to describe something like, okay, the school. Like, is it winter? Because, of course, the bully scene might be a little different if it's cold outside. He might, the character that's getting bullied, you could add something in the story that says Chris's cheeks were felt frostbitten after he was punched in the face. Or if you said something like Chris was punched in the face, and the fact that it was the dead of winter doesn't make it any better. I mean, that's kind of cheesy, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's like you're kind of painting, you're giving a visual for what you want your readers to see. Because as the writer, we know, we see it already, but sometimes as we're writing, it does not come out on the paper, okay? Isn't that right, Maylee? Isn't that right? So yeah, you would also maybe talk about what the character might be wearing. Again, in a bully story, you might say something. I had something where in this story, how I painted it out, Billy runs up to Chris, the one that he's bullying, and he grabs the bike away from him. And you could say something like, if Chris is wearing a hoodie, every hoodie has the strings, right? So you could say something and add visual to say, Billy runs up to Chris and grabs his bike. He grabbed it so quickly that the strings from Chris's hoodie tangles up around the bars and he falls to the ground. If you don't say anything about what he's wearing, then it's like it doesn't really help to add to that part of the scene, if that makes sense. So other things that you want to do, and I'm gonna kind of wrap this up. Other things that you might want to do as you're unfolding your story is try to figure out how each character might respond in that scene. So again, if we're talking about the little brother being bullied, so if Billy runs up to Chris and he steals his bike, his brother is standing in the because it's again at the school. The brother is standing at the auditorium door. How is everyone going to respond when Billy grabs the bike? Okay, of course we know Billy's like super excited because he's making a fool out of Chris. But how is Chris feeling? Chris was, I don't know, embarrassed again, and he felt his cheeks getting warm because he saw the girl that he liked in chemistry class watching. Then Devin, one thing that I wrote out when I was planning this out, let's say Devin is frustrated, and Devin might be frustrated because he has been protecting his brother so much, depending on their grade level. Devin, you would say transitional thing, or not transit, but descriptive things like, where did I write this? Oh, no wonder it's on a different page. So Devin lets out a heavy sigh as he throws his gym bag to the auditorium floor and runs out to the sidewalk. Seriously, Billy? We're doing this again, man? Billy throws Chris's bike to the ground and begins to take off his jacket. Only if you want to get a butt whooping. Again, this is just this cheesy example, just to kind of show you guys how a session might unfold if I'm helping you to kind of put your story together. Now, the thing is, you don't have to, if you have a narrator in your story, you don't have to say, yeah, Billy has been beating up Chris for 3 years now, and and his brother is annoyed. You will tell that in your actual story. You will just say that in the story with your descriptive words, okay? So Devin lets out a heavy sigh. Him letting out the heavy sigh lets the readers know, oh, okay, so he's frustrated. We know sighing is a sign of frustration. Then by the dialogue, by Devin, the older brother, saying, seriously, Billy, we doing this again, man? Meaning it's letting you as the reader know, okay, so this is an ongoing thing. He's been bullying this little brother for quite some time now. So yeah, that's my little spiel. Well, not little, because this video has become quite long. But for those that are interested, contact me. I will put my contact information in the box. Let me know if you're interested in a free consultation. I am also interested in working with people on a free basis because I do want to build my clientele. I do want to get more reviews for my website. So if you're interested, if you have questions, let me know.